But I understand you even try to exaggerate to that point. What I did is something to myself. And this is what a child is capable of doing. You guys are grown men and women involved in a program that torture children as young as 3 years old. Even if they coerce, they have these childlike individuals involved in this, right? And I'm supposed to think, because there's some childlike individual, I should be thinking this is like a childlike ran program. No, of course I know the government is running this program. And I know that these adult men and women are fully aware of the horrible stories and the horrible things that is happening in the program. Some of them have involved themselves in the participation of targeting a child. And the adult me, know that these people are involved in a program that tortured children. I'm not making up stories. You just heard the story. You just heard the testimony of this woman saying a 3-year-old literally grabbing his genitals because he's hurt by this technology. These people do that to children. These people are fully aware of that. If I see them, I don't see them as just people who do harmful things to me, but they truly abuse children by using this technology onto them. These are the severe people, severely torturing children. And these children are dying for it, for this program, are suffering for it, are crying for it and screaming for it, just like me. They are the threat to children. And these manipulations, because in my brain, like, no, we mapped it to you. It's like, first of all, I'm not a child. I don't want, like, for you to be, if you ever have to tell somebody, we're making your brain be a brain of a child, you know that moment you have stepped to another level of low. And that's their life. Because I'm not a child. And even when I was a child, I did not think like that. What I did as a kid to myself, it was an impulsive moment of a child doing something impulsive. But of course, your job is not to do that. Your job is to find ways to make me identify with the pedophilia type of torment that you do to so many others. Listen to these testimonies.
What is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of plant.
Techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa, tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
I told them that they would never take my will, and since we all know how the psychopaths groups work with what the TI says or does, then they started during the nights to run some kind of beam where suddenly I've been wakened up at 3 o'clock in the mornings and some kind of voice comes and say phrases, sound incomprehensible, and some other times can actually catch what is saying, ITS not my voice, a different voice, and I realize that they are trying to program for me to take it in a way that I won't notice a possible change in my behavior. Of course this is not new, because one main thing this program is out there, is called behavior modification for the undesirable, and that's one of the excuses this groups give for the neighbor TO join, deception. I learned to talk back, in my mind, during the process when I was awakened, and I would say demeaning things, that I cannot repeat it in this blog, you know what I mean. Since they had violated me for so long, I decided to aggravate them with words in my mind. I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to hear is aggravation. For every single second of my privacy that you have taken away. From me and my family. Then said this, the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing. And then I said again out loud, "You'll never take my will, ASS." So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
Dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
Often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
Any part of the body. This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal or...
So on top of being in a program where they torture children, right? And you heard the horrible things they do to kids. This is the kind of things that you see them and they truly people should harm them for just being involved in that. Some of these people are parents. And then they're like, no, you pay for it. You're involved in a program that is doing these things to kids. You fucking do life. But on top of that, listen to these tactics they've been using systematically. They've been manipulating men and women to have these disgusting reactions toward children. Now, the purpose of it is not just to make people think about children in sexual ways. It's because we're just test subjects in this cognitive warfare. And they use samples of all culture and races to do these things. And you're going to hear that. And who's they? They are these governmental entities. The Department of Defense has been working, and obviously the intelligence community of the CIA specifically, been working on technology that can manipulate the mind and control the mind. They've been trying to work on they've been working on it since the 60s, even maybe earlier. And this paperwork shows that Pandora, Project Pandora was this DARPA program where they were using electromagnetic weapons, electromagnetic radiation to see how they can alter the mind. To alter the mind, to control the mind, control behavior. And so those are the entities who are using these tactics onto us. Is part of this patterning tactic in order to control the mind. So they break target individuals in ways that are just disorienting, disturbing. And apparently that's what's needed for the target individual to be manipulated the most. It seems like a state of stress and of some sort is needed. It seems that way. I won't know the detail because I'm just the one dealing with the manipulation, but if you heard the testimony, there's a clear pattern. Matter of fact, this woman literally said the pedophilia type of torture. You hear that out of all so there was the no-touch torture, is basically a surveying of 1,000 or so target individual. And they said, almost all of them, that they were experiencing this child pornography in their mind. Right? And meaning they're forcing them to see child pornography in their mind. You understand what it means? Literally conditioning the brain in regard of pedophilia. And you hear this woman saying that they try to change who she is and implanting thought of pedophilia. Then you hear this woman who says they do this program perversions and they aim that stimulation and sensation toward children. young people, children, and homosexual. They've done that to me too. Force me stimulation toward guys with like muscles and like, okay, it's like I can feel the stimulations, and they try to counter that by saying no, but it's crazy. They do these things to torment you. But what I was trying to show here is the consistency of the manipulation that's aimed toward children. And you hear that they have the ability to create sexual arousal. As I was talking about the way they wanted to say that now what we do is like make you feel the way you felt when you were a kid. Remember what you did as a kid. They will give me stimulation, just like they will give me stimulation when I saw this kid, or a version of that, or some kind of sensation stimulation. They are playing with sexual arousals, and they aim those sexual arousals toward children. They are nasty bottom feeders. You know when the story about this man who killed his 15-year-old because he was the 15-year-old was molesting a 3-year-old. What do you think should be done to these people involved in this? Listen, I'm not for aggression. I think these people are gonna live their life the way that needs to be lived, and they're gonna be reimbursed the right way. So don't, I know that, I don't want to be spiritual, I don't want to be biblical, but let this trash live this life. It's going to come to them one way or another. There's nothing mystical about what I'm saying. Is the level of disturbing things that they dedicated their life into. How they dedicate their life doing these things to people. Of course it's going to come. But they're enjoying those incentives right now. Financial or non-financial. But you find out this. Like I said, DARPA has been working on this program on this like mind control technology for years. All this technology they utilize onto us is obviously technology that is connected to the DoD. We are test subject to these DoD entities. They are just contracting these losses to make it look like it's anything but this massive government doing this. This massive government, we're talking about the DoD, has been shown to have disgusting patterns of pedophilia. Disgusting. So this trash contracted by these DoD entities not only do the pedophilia type of torture, but they're working for governmental entities that have shown consistent patterns of pedophilia at a large volume. In every ways, they've been shown that they're going to be, these people are trash. Not only they torture children, abuse them using this defense technology as they try to exaggerate what I did as a child. They manipulate the brain for the purpose of breaking down the ego of the target individual in these pedophilia ways. But the governmental entities running this program, contracting this slow life, have so much issue with child porn that Child Protective Services ranked them 19th out of 2,900 network, U.S. network, computer network, with the most trafficked child porn. Please listen to this.
Hey, so they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. Human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
Potentially making this. The Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets. potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them at high levels, across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Others also were
has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flickr, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who are being recognized as the ones who are perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, the notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head on. Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a
2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general evil?
Ali, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children, and they're not being prosecuted? Where are
said in a statement, according to child pornography watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services, the Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018.
Okay, so you just heard this obvious pattern here. Those are the entities that this program is ran by. You see a clear issue here with pedophilia. Matter of fact, as I was listening to that, I'm listening to a childlike sounding individual. These people, I mean, it sounds like via V2K, voice to skull, things sound sometimes like they're near me, and I hear somebody talks to me. And voice to skull is this technology that you can project voices onto somebody's brain, right? And it's an old technology, but I'm hearing this trash talking to me, and she's making herself, and I'm sorry, when I call it trash, it's just the way I call these people involved in this program, because I'm hearing this childlike individual saying how she's gonna frame me, right? And she's gonna say, you raped me, and this and that, and is she doing that to just agitate me, or that's really gonna happen? I think it's really gonna happen. And I've seen these neighbors here, they're trash. They've just been compromised at all the levels. And so, they have this like dialogues, which I don't know if it's because this is the dialogues they're gonna frame me, that pretend like I had those dialogues with these people via, because listen, all my devices are hacked by these people. They can manipulate everything. So I won't be surprised that there's some kind of communication happening that I don't know is happening. And to counter that, right, and to counter what you just heard, I could hear her talk. Because they're trying to block out the fact there's the issue with pedophilia, and this issue, you heard that, like, consistently happening. And matter of fact, to try to counter that, they would try to make me think of when I dated this girl that was 3 years younger than me at the time. You see, that's proof. I was like, what? 3 years? These people are delusional. And it's finding ways to try to be like, no, but you see, it's like, it's a please. Anyways, the stories they create is just stories that are, like I said, comical. They're embarrassing. But the sad thing is, this is the people who are manipulating people's brain. Now, they manipulate us in these ways for a purpose. There's an actual purpose behind this. Unfortunately, this purpose is just horrible unto us, at least. But I'm sure that in the future there'll be positive. There'll be positive benefits from this. But at this point, we just use as test subjects for this like cognitive warfare. And you can hear this man talking about the different tactics of what they've been doing to people and what's the purpose of it. Listen to this.
Here's how I do my studies, and I wanted to find the commonalities, but I have to throw away the ones I'm uncertain about that are true targets. maybe there's natural schizophrenia. There's a whole bunch of chemical imbalances,
Right,
etc.
right.
These weapons can actually induce and mimic all those diseases and effects. But the conversations, the scripts, they're called, are always the same. And I've heard them all. They're slightly tailored for each individual, but they're scripts. And they're meant to confuse the very derogatory. That's just typical breakdown. If you ever been to boot camp, you're a worm until you're part of the team. And why would you want to break down the ego of that person? To rebuild it. So this gets into creating Manchurian Candidate. You want a random sample of the population in all languages, all cultures, in order for a worldwide weapon of an AI system that can interact with every human brain, for example. When you if you develop a new drug, well, you have a control group, and then you give the placebo, and then you have the actual drug experiment in order to do a double-blind study. Right. So why me? I'm nobody. Well, that's exactly probably why they chose you. This is part of the reason of the breakdown, the torture that TIs are experiencing, is they have to break down the ego in order to be part of a greater mind or mind controlled. Ultimately controlling the enemy. The book, The Art of War, is an excellent short read. And it's to make your enemy believe you are near when you are far. It's to believe you are weak when you are strong. It's to believe you are, unorganized when you're very smart and strategic. And so they play all these games along with the torture scripts right out of the books. On the target, and they make them believe that their neighbor with a ray gun is doing it to them, or a van. You are near when you're actually far, and all they have to do is jump on an airplane and find out knowledge. If you have knowledge ahead of time, Len, would you have gone through as much pain? I mean, you would have been able better to cope early on. Right. So we're trying to spread awareness and knowledge of that it's a machine and not your actual family, let's say, berating you. And mind control is so powerful in these weapons and voice to God. I mean, you have no ability to discern, like looking at a television, what goes into your mind. It is directly stimulating those neurons to think that. So, is bypassing your peripheral vision. Some people can see through their third eye, and that's called in psychology the visual workspace. Some people can smell artificial things, taste artificial things. All the senses have been bypassed, like in the movie The Matrix. They're literally plugged in to a synthetic controlled reality that they cannot differentiate from their external bodily senses.
Do you that this person developed delusional disorder? This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist, and it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare,
exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds,
personalities.
And it's like Chinese torture. I mean, this. Yeah. Okay.
So you see what this is really about, and basically we are test subjects, and they're subject to this cognitive warfare where they alter our mind and they create this personality rebuild where they just try to change who you are. And it's just disturbing. It's disturbing. It pushes target individuals to lose their mind. Listen, there's one part here he said, let me bring that back up.
Here's how I do my studies, and I wanted to find the commonalities, but I have to throw away the ones I'm uncertain about that are true targets. Maybe there's natural schizophrenia, there's a whole bunch of chemical imbalances, etc.
Right.
These weapons can actually induce and mimic all those diseases and effects. But the conversations, the scripts, they're called, are always the same. I've heard them all. They're slightly tailored for each individual, but they're scripts. And they're meant to confuse, the very derogatory. That's just typical breakdown.
You hear that these derogative tactics, which, the pedophilia type of torment is what they do. There's been mass shootings that happen, and some of this mass shooting clearly came from people who are target individuals. Some literally have, after killing or before killing, wrote this letter saying that the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I've been used as a test subject, and they're doing these things to me where I'm influenced by these electromagnetic weapons and these voices of people talking to me, basically saying that I'm a target individual. The latest mass shooting which is one of the largest in the United States, the 10th. A man killed 18 people, and listen to what happened before he killed those 18 people. Let's just bring up what happened that day in Maine.
In Maine last week, from New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily. Today, the mass shooting that occurred in Maine last week, killing 18 people, was the country's deadliest of the year. It may also have been one of the most avoidable.
So this is the mass shooting that happened on October 25th. And you're going to hear what happened. It's funny because some of it actually also happened in New York State. Listen to this.
Really made aware that this guy is a concern is about 5 months ago in May, when his ex-wife and teenage son go to a school resource officer, and the school resource officer calls down a sheriff's deputy to speak with the family. And in that interview, the teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. He's started to be increasingly paranoid and angry. They also note he has collected about 10 to 15 guns that he kept at a relative's house. Wife say that he has started to hear voices.
Next.
So the next thing we know that happens is in July. Card travels with his reserve unit to West Point, New York for an annual training exercise. And there's a very concerning incident that takes place. They're all hanging out together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly. He shoves one at one point of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly.
So you hear this thing that happened where this man ended up killing 18 people. He was hearing voices, and the voices, a lot of which happened repeatedly, as mentioned, is we're calling him a pedophile, and that kept happening, right? This man ended up killing 18 people. The day he went and shot up this bowling alley, it was during youth night. There were kids. There was a kids league going on, and the child actually died. A 14-year-old kid died. I guess he died for it. Now listen to this poor girl who was wounded, 10-year-old girl asking a very good question.
Others wounded. The first 911 call coming in around 7 p.m. from a local bowling alley that was hosting a youth night for a kids' bowling league.
We have an active shooter. We have multiple injuries.
Authorities releasing these surveillance images showing the suspect they're looking for. His name is Robert Card, and he's pictured armed with an AR-15 style rifle.
Mr. Card is considered armed and dangerous, and police advise that named people should not approach him under any circumstances.
Megan Hutchinson and her 10-year-old daughter Zoe were at the bowling alley. Zoe's leg grazed by a bullet.
I never thought I'd grow up and get a bullet in my leg. Why? Why do people do this?
After allegedly shooting several people inside the bowling alley, Card is believed to have...
As this kid said, why do people do this? And the truth is, some people, I'm not going to say all mass shootings were from target individuals. It's because they were driven into insanity by governmental entities that are utilizing human subjects as test subjects. Just to wrap up this, you hear how much of a threat they are to children. And there'll be more. There'll be more mass shootings. There'll be more test subjects that are children. There'll be more of the foulness that you just heard. And that's the reality of things. So just to wrap up everything, for me, is never identify with these manipulations. Matter of fact, as I was making this video, they go into my memories, rewiring the memories, giving me sensation, stimulation that I didn't experience at the time, and making me feel the same experience that I'm having today. Matter of fact, I'm feeling in my brain when they do that. They are truly reconstructing reality. Your thoughts are no longer yours. Your memories are no longer yours, meaning they are being manipulated. Your thoughts are being manipulated. Your reactions are being manipulated. It's truly, really like altering reality, altering your mind. Everything is being changed to something else. It's nasty. And so you have to be strong because they are truly building a personality that is not you. And that's inclusive of your memories, of everything. So to all my target individual, these nasty things they force us to experience is what they do. Man, it's foul. Stay strong and know that justice will be done for what they do to us.